My name is Fatima. What is your name?
Brian?
Brian. I'm going to be writing notes throughout our interview here, but please keep in mind that, or please, I would like to let you know that it is definitely confidential and it is only within us. I want you to feel comfortable enough to be here and to stay comfortable that I'm just writing those small notes there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. And may I ask your name? Your age, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my name is Brian Barrow. No, I'm 30 years old.
30 years old, okay. And may I ask your ethnicity?
Yeah, I'm Panamanian and Irish. Pretty much considered a mutt because there's a lot of other ethnicities like involved. But those are the main two that I know of.
The main two, alrighty. And do you happen to work at this time?
Yeah, I work two jobs. I work here on campus at the Pat Tillman Center. I work private security out in Scottsdale.
Oh, alrighty. And what, besides that, is that all you do?
And then I go to school full time here at ASU.
At ASU. If you don't mind me asking, what's your major?
So social work?
Social work, nice. Okay. And so we are, I would like to see if you're able to share some things with me, if that's okay with you.
Mm-hmm.
For example, what's a life transition that you occurred throughout your time?
A life transition. You want like a small one or a major one?
It can be both if you'd like to share that with me. Whichever you prefer.
I'll hit one that's pretty near and dear to my heart. One of my biggest life transitions is transitioning from the military to civilian life.
Okay.
Like one of my biggest transitions.
Alrighty. And what about that transition impacted you?
Impacted me like negatively or positively or?
Do you want to talk about the positive first? Is that okay with you?
Well, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like the transition impacted me in a positive way in the sense that like it allowed me to readjust back into like what I consider like a real life, and pretty much become like a working class citizen again. And not to say that my time in the Marine Corps didn't involve that, but it's like it's a whole nother different type of lifestyle in its own way. So it's got its own cultural norms and things, but they're kind of different in an extreme sense to what like the overall broader society would accept, I guess, in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to explain. It's like living two different lives. You either pick the one that you've known for so long in the military, or you choose to assimilate back into society and be like, you know, another face in the crowd or another one of the people.
Did you find that it was difficult for you to go into that state of mind?
Yeah. Well, because my right after I graduated high school, I joined the Marine Corps that summer. So I graduated in May 2006 and joined July 2006. I shipped out to boot camp, and then that's all I had known like my whole time after high school. And I grew up in a small town, so it's like knowing like what other things are out there in the real world. It's like it was really, I don't know, it was new to me. It was like a kind of a shell shock because like you don't have those luxuries in a very, very, very small town.
Of course.
So it's like almost as if there's certain things in life that you're not even aware of or familiar with just because your town that you grew up in is so small. It's like its own little bubble. So then when I joined the Marine Corps from there, like the Marine Corps became all I knew. And then after that, getting out, it's just like kind of like finding my bearings again. There's a lot of things about like, you know, in the world and just life like that. I feel like I've never really known about. It's kind of interesting, but in a way, you know, it gives me an opportunity to look into those things or, you know, just figure it out again. It's kind of what I feel like I kind of should have done from the start, but I just needed to get out of my town.
Sounds like it was something that was challenging for you, but as well as kind of, in a way, a different kind of outlook. So it was kind of in a positive way that you moved out of a small town and then joined something that was a lot larger than what you were used to?
Mm-hmm.
All right, okay. And is that okay if you can tell me maybe if you had a negative experience besides, I do understand that you were having some difficulties adapting back to it, but what was your biggest challenge that you would say?
That readjustment, the readjusting is, I would probably consider that part of a negative experience too, just because it's really hard to break like the identity that you had or the way of life that you're so familiar with in the military, especially in a branch like the Marine Corps, just because I was in the infantry. So narrowing it more down, not even just the Marine Corps, but being in the infantry and the Marine Corps, it's just like, it's a different world. I don't know. Everybody seems kind of like they're broken on the inside in some way, and you're just angry and bitter. Everybody yells at each other. It's just, I don't know, but it's like this alpha male like kind of atmosphere to where like you always have to be a dominant person, or you can't really show any signs of weakness or that you're hurt or anything like that. It's just how it is 24/7, and that's all is like the Marine Corps. Like you don't really have chances to even like pursue any hobbies outside of the base like that would allow you to integrate with civilians, like joining like an MMA gym or working a side job like down the street, like at the gas station or something. You don't have the time to do any of that. So really, you're on that base living that lifestyle like 24/7 almost. That's how they teach you to be in general. So it's really hard to break that when you get out, because you only get like a week of training that they send you to learn how to be a civilian again, and then the rest, once you get out, you're on your own. And so it's really impacting, and it's really been a struggle for not just myself, but a lot of my brothers and sisters that are in the same position.
So being like in that same routine for such a long time, kind of just, it's hard to break those habits then,
right.
In a way. Okay. Is that okay if you could share something where it was a positive outlook that you learned throughout your transition? So for example, it would be maybe the structure that you did uphold there in a way, or it could also be learning how to, I guess you can say, not really being afraid. Can that be the word that maybe can be it? Not afraid, but more like you're in that stance where it doesn't really like, different situations don't really bother you. It's more like you can kind of take it in a way.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, it's positive in a sense, because a lot of things that would normally stress out most people in like back in like society or in the civilian sector or something, they don't really stress me out. It's because I don't know, like some of the experiences you endure in the Marine Corps, like some of the most extreme that you could possibly imagine being exposed to or having to endure. So when you run into some of these challenges out here, it's really not that big of a deal, or it doesn't seem like a big deal to you. So it's really interesting to see how other people react to it as opposed to how I react to it. Then another positive aspect would be just finding those groups of brothers and sisters from the military that like are looking for the same thing that I'm looking for, is that sense of belonging, being a part of a group. You're always taught there's really no I in team. Everything you do is with a group, whether it's just you and a buddy, or a team of 4, or a squad of 12, a platoon of 30, so on and so forth, and it just moves up. So everything you're always used to being with the team, a group.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of refreshing or relieving when you can find some of these groups of people out in town or at school or in certain jobs where they gravitate to along with yourself based off your skill set, and then you get to know these people as well, and then you're like, oh wow, I'm not as alone as I thought I was. So that's a positive aspect of the transition.
So it sounds like you're like, I guess with your skills of like grouping and stuff like that, you're really good,
right?
In a way, and you kind of like look forward to it then, in a way.
Sometimes,
to
yeah.
work with another kind of group.
Yeah.
All right. And would you be able to tell me if like your family helped you out in this situation, if you had like a positive influence going through the transition that you went through?
No, none of my family really helped me when I joined, when I left, when I was in, I'd say during my time that I was in, that's probably when I got the most help from my family, which still wasn't much. I would just send stuff home because I needed a place to send stuff, so I would just at least be able to send things home for them to hold on to while I left, and then when I'd come back home and get my stuff and go back to base. And sometimes I'd go home and for my vacation time before I'd deploy, and after I'd deploy, I'd get to go home and spend time with my family and sleep there. But that's probably the most support I got. I'd sometimes be able to stay with my older brother here and there, and that was really it. I don't really know a lot of my family, to be honest. Even then, it's just, I don't know. I grew up in such a different way that it's just, you don't really get that kind of support. Yeah, that's like another struggle all in itself. So yeah, I'd kind of like learned to just become self-sufficient and rely on myself. And it's kind of been like that ever since I've gotten out. I've kind of, I hit the ground running. My first day out of the Marine Corps was my first day in college. And I've been in college ever since, and I've just been running, really ever since then. So.
Besides like your immediate family, did you have another like personnel that you look at as a family member?
Yeah.
To where they can help you? I do apologize.
Oh,
to
no,
where they can help
fine.
you?
My brothers that I became like really close with while I was like in the Marine Corps, they help me in the sense that I can still like reach out and talk to them, and vice versa. If anything, it's more them reaching out to me to talk to me about their problems, but in the same sense. It's nice to feel appreciated in that way, that they can confide in me, and it's just nice to know that I can be there for them, because I always tell them that I've always told them the whole time I was in. I was like, hey man, like you guys aren't just my friends, man. You guys are like my brothers. You guys are my family, and I've told them more things than I've even told my family, and as they have me. So it's nice to have those bonds with them. Even carrying forward outside of this, our time in the military, because you never know I never know when I might need them. They never know when they might need me. But like when you get out of the military, it's like you go back to that way of life that you knew before you joined. So for a lot of people, that can be going back to like the states that they're from. So I got friends in Missouri, I have friends in Texas, friends in Cali, friends in New York, I have friends everywhere, brothers really. And so it's just relieving to know that whenever I travel or anything like that, the minute I post something about where I'm at, I got brothers being like, hey, I'm here, I live here, like, what are you doing tomorrow or something?
Right.
And so it's, that's nice. But that's like a big way that we all support each other. So that's something I really appreciate.
So you appreciate that they're there for you, and that they're always, that you're also there for them.
I do.
So the relationship kind of, in a way, goes back and forth then.
Yes.
Nice. It's very good to hear that you're part of what a family is in where you were at. So Thank you for sharing that with me.
Of course.
Would it be possible that it could possibly be a part of your life now that you're not only there for your immediate family, because it sounds like you're still there for them, but it's more like at a distance compared to your family, which is like your brothers that were in the Marine Corps with you, correct? Am I correct? Okay. With that being said, is there something that perhaps that at this time with your transition is being influenced in a positive way? Like, for example, keeping you in school and like wanting for you to keep going in the social work field that you're wanting to go into?
One of my main reasons for getting out of the Marine Corps was because I noticed like there was more of a struggle with my brothers on the outside than there was on the inside. I mean, granted, it's not pretty either which way you look at it or cut it. It just is my way of continuing my mission. Is I just sought out something a little more selfless than what I was doing when I was in, and I see a lot more glory and honor, and respect, love, and compassion to pursue a job that allows me to help my brothers that are struggling versus being in, and I know it's going to sound kind of controversial, but deploying to countries where I felt like I had no business being and fighting wars that I felt we had no business fighting. I don't know, you kind of question those things at the end of the day, and in lieu of still keeping true to my service to both myself and my brothers and sisters, I figured this would be one of the biggest ways I could give back to them, and that's really ultimately what I think it's about in our world, and it's what I want to do.
Okay. Sounds very good. Can you go ahead and clarify for me, giving back to them in what way?
Serving them in the capacity of social work. So I'd like to become like maybe like a readjustment counselor, like for like troubled veterans, it's like, well, those that are willing to change first, because I feel they have to be willing to change in order to allow me to help them. So, but yeah, just to provide them like counseling services for like mental health, you know, PTSD, anxiety, certain things that they're going with. The very same things that I'm going through therapy for right now. It's really helped me in a lot of ways, and I feel if it can help me, I feel it can help them too. You just gotta believe in it.
Right, so helping them in that way will definitely kind of like help you as well then, correct?
Mhm.
So with that being said also, is there a possible way if, besides that goal of helping them out, do you have another goal of helping them or just helping yourself?
Well, I work for a nonprofit organization as well, which is a big part of my transition too. Is we do what we can for veterans as well through that. Just do suicide prevention seminars and talking about choosing life instead of death. You know, in the veteran community, just because it's something that we feel that like a lot of awareness needs to be like brought to. So we do what we can with that, but honestly, that's one of the only ways I feel I could give back to the veterans, unless I like work for like USAA or something like that. But I haven't really explored much more of that because I've been so set on becoming a counselor or therapist or a social worker in the VA, just because when I sat down and thought about it, that seems like the one area where I can affect veterans the most. And Phoenix is very rich with the veteran community, and that VA is just flowing with veterans going in and out. And a lot of the times, the veterans that I know on forums and certain social media sites, they're always talking about how they want counseling services or need counseling services, or they don't have the means to get them, and I'd like to see if I can help change that.
Sounds like a good plan.
Mhm.
Sounds like you have everything kind of set up for yourself in this way.
Right.
Being able to help them out in that way, how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel really good too, but I mean, a very wise social worker told me at the end of the day, you shouldn't be doing it to make yourself feel good. Which is, I'm glad that's something I needed to hear, because in a way I kind of was thinking about that. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said it didn't make me feel good, just because it's like one of my biggest life missions is to help them and keep that and you know, keep paying it forward, you know, for those generations ahead of me that have done the thing, you know, and you know, with honor and integrity. And yeah, if anything, I only have that much more to give to them.
So giving back is your number one key.
Yes.
Sounds like it. Sounds like you have everything set up for yourself at this time. Would you think that being a part of the society that you're in today, is it something that you were looking forward to at the end of everything?
If I'm being honest, no. Well, yes and no. It's kind of complicated. I feel that the veterans of today's society, I feel like more of them are more willing to look for certain channels or avenues to find therapeutic outlets versus what the generations before us in society were willing to do. A lot of the generations before, I think they just kind of like allowed themselves to stagnate and just have these issues and leave them unresolved. I can't prove that, but I mean, I've read a few articles where it's saying that, you know, this generation's veterans in society are more willing to like look for ways to help themselves, like through CrossFit, through training certain martial arts, through creating clubs and groups and things like that. And it seems like that's been more proactive and more evident in today's society of veterans than it was in previous generations. And there are some pretty good grouping statistics that showed that. So at least in that area, I can say that's pretty positive, like in terms of looking forward to that with the society. But in another way, I feel it's just kind of bad too, because I don't know, just for me personally, I question some of the direction, some of the purpose, and I guess the drive of some of the social workers of today's society. So So that kind of makes it a little more difficult in my opinion. But I mean, at the end of the day, like that's I don't know, that's just a speck compared to like what I should really be worried about. But I don't know, it kind of goes back and forth. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess, but to me it makes sense.
Which is good enough, right?
Yeah.
I would like to thank you more than anything. We're going to wrap this up at this point. Today we concluded that the transition of your life was something that, even though it started off a little rough and you were looking forward to something outside of the small community that you were based off of, overall, even though with the hardships, it seems that you've gotten to the point that you're okay with being outside and being able to adapt to, like you had said, civilian life. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your feelings with me at this time. And I look forward to having a second interview with you, okay?
Of course. Thank you, Fatima.